Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about IR sensor with Arduino Uno. So basically in this session we are going to interface IR sensor with the Arduino Uno board. Myself Heming Satwara, and we will discuss today practical session. Here is the outline of today's session. First, we are going to discuss about its components, system layout, program, how IR sensor works, actual representation in software, and actual representation of hardware. So let us start with project's components. Here we can see it is the IR sensor. Here you can see this is IR sensor. This is basically IR sensor, which we are going to connect with Arduino board, right? So basically there are 3 pins. So precisely you can see here in this diagram there are 3 pins, number 1, this is number 2, and number 3. So here one pin is out for the output, second one pin is GND, that is ground, and VCC that is power supply. So basically you are supplying voltage over here. So this is IR sensor. Black LED, it is known as IR receiver, and white, it is IR transmitter. This is IR LED, and this is photodiode basically. Here in center over here you can see this is distance adjustment, and here this is obstacle LED. Now we are going to use jumper wires, because here you can see number of pins are available which should be connected with this board. So for that we are using here jumper wires. So basically in this session we are going to use Arduino board, IR sensor, and jumper wires. Here you can see this is basically mind, or you can say heart of the IoT, which is known as Arduino Uno R3. Here USB plug. First we are starting with USB plug, then external power supply. Number of pins are available for that: digital input output pins, digital ground. Below side you can see analog pins, which are the 6 number of pins, and in center here you can see this is Mega 328 microcontroller. Here we are going to connect power supply 5 volt over here, and there is an option of 3.3 volt. So this is basically Arduino Uno board. Now let us discuss about system layout. Today we are going to discuss about IR sensor with Arduino board. So here first we are going to connect IR sensor. This is IR sensor with the Arduino board, right? For example, we have seen that IR sensor has 3 legs, 3 pins, 1, 2, and 3. So basically we are going to connect these 3 pins to this Arduino board. Then at the output side we are going to connect LED. LED tells us that 0 and 1, right? 0 stands for it is low, and 1 stands for it is high. As we already know about digital language, 0 and 1. 0 that means low, and 1 that means high. So sometime your LED will be on and sometime it will be off. So it indicates that it is detected. Your object will be detected. So this is basically our output in our practical. Now program. So basically we are going to combine hardware with the software. That's why we need program. How we can perform the program? Here you can see. First it is starting with the integer IR sensor is equal to 2. Then integer LED is equal to 13. Now what is IR sensor is equal to 2? It is basically IR sensor to Arduino pin number 2, which indicates here you are going to connect your IR sensor on pin number 2. We have to define this pin for IR sensor. It may be 2, 3, whatever digital pins will be there. Now integer LED is equal to 13. That means we have to connect LED on pin number 13. So it should be defined in your program. Then and then you can connect with the hardware. So connect LED to the Arduino board pin number 13. Void setup. Now what is your void setup? Put your setup code here to run once. Now basically when you are trying to program in C or C++, at that time you will use main function. But in Arduino you have to use setup function. So that's why we are using here void setup. So it is for the run program for once. Below here we can see pin mode, IR sensor input, pin mode, LED output. So it indicates sensor pins. Here you can see input, it is IR sensor, and your LED, it is output side. As we discussed in our system layout, LED will be your output and IR sensor will be your input. Here again void loop. Basically we are using void setup and void loop in programming. Void loop, it is for the run your program repeatedly. That's why we are using void loop. Next, integer status sensor is equal to digital read. Now we are using here digital read because it reads the value from the specified digital pin. Whatever you are defined your input pin, or it may be output pin. Here you can see in this bracket. Here this is IR sensor. Basically it is your input. So it reads the value from the specified digital input pin, which is number 2, right? So that's why we are using here digital read. Now we are going to use if and else. Here you can see if status sensor is equal to 1 is equal to we are using here because it is comparator, right? This is comparison operator. That's why we are using here is equal to 1. That indicates digital write in bracket LED low. LED low. Basically digital write it may be high or low value to a digital pin. So make sure there is a difference between digital read and digital write. Whenever you are using digital read, so it is reading your value from the specified digital pin, whatever you have selected. But digital write, that means it write high or low value according to your input. So here we are using status sensor is equal to 1. At this time it will be write low value. Else digital write again LED high. Again I use digital write because it write high or low value for your digital pin. So here you can see digital high, so your LED will be high. So remember this thing, we are going to use this in program. Here next one is how IR sensor works. So basically in IR sensor there are two LEDs. First one is IR transmitter and second one is IR receiver. IR transmitter that transmits the signal and it will be reflected from the object and returned to it IR receiver. Here you can see this transparent LED, that is your IR transmitter. IR transmitter reflect your signal to this object and it will be returned to the IR sensor, which is in black color. So make sure there is a difference between IR transmitter and IR receiver. If your LED will be transparent, that is your IR transmitter. If your LED is black, that is basically IR receiver. So basically that's why we can say IR sensor works like this: IR transmitter and IR receiver. Now make sure there should be a surface black or white. If your surface will be black, so it is not going to transmit all signal to the IR receiver. If your object is white, then it will be reflect to IR receiver. So like this it will be work. If there is no object placed against IR transmitter, so your signal is directly transmitted like this, here and here, not coming back to the IR receiver side. So your LED will be off. Or even you can say, whenever your signal will be reflected back to the IR receiver, at this time here you can see obstacle LED that will be blinked, continuously blinking. That means it indicates your IR receiver getting number of signal returning back. So here basically this is IR sensor, in which there are 3 pins: VCC, ground and output pin. Now here it is the power LED. Here distance adjustment, you can set your distance, how far object you have to detect. Then this is black LED, this is IR receiver, and white, that is your IR transmitter, or we can say IR emitter. So infrared project, we are going to use this project in 2 software. First one is, here you can see it is Proteus IR sensor project. In Proteus we have to put various types of component and we have to connect its pin appropriately. Here you can see number 2. So here you can see IR sensor is equal to number 2 and LED is equal to number 13. Whatever you are programming here, you have to connect this as per your programming. So IR sensor is equal to number 2, that means number 2 will be going to connect with this IR sensor. Here you can see this is your out. So it is not visible right now, but I can write down here, this is out pin, right? So center one is ground pin. Here this is ground pin, G and D, and this is VCC. So basically we are using here this type of Arduino board, so there is no power supply right now. So I am going to connect with this battery like this. So in series I am going to connect this battery plus VCC to ground. Second terminal will be ground. Now here you can see out terminal, it is connected to this number 2 pin. Now again repeat this program. LED is equal to 13. That means you have to connect your LED on pin number 13. So here it is pin number 13 over here. So it is going to be connected with LED. Here this is your LED, light emitting diode, and second terminal will be grounded like this. So this is basically our IR sensor program or IR sensor project along with Arduino Uno. It is actual representation. So this is how you are going to connect your Arduino board with this IR sensor. This is basically your IR sensor. Now here I am going to represent one more practical session, how we are going to connect, how we are going to interface this Arduino board with this IR sensor. We have to put here Arduino board with IR sensor like this. Simple, you have to drag a point like this, draw a point like this and connect this pin, right? So now I am going to run this practical in this software. So for that, what here you have to do, you have to first do programming. Whatever I told you about that programming, IR sensor is equal to 2, integer LED is equal to 13, so it is already defined and it is already written as you have seen in PPT. But here, what you have to do after that? So first you have to verify this program like this on clicking on this right button. So it is going to be verified. if there is a mistake in your program, so it shows there is a mistake or it shows an error, so just you have to change that particular function like this. So it is already generated. Now after this, what you have to do? After that, you have to select this hex file. Here you can see this is .hex. So you just have to select this file location. It is starting from C and ending with this .hex file, and copy this file and paste it here. Just you have to double click on this Arduino board and just paste it here like this and click OK button. Now it is done. Similarly, you have to here insert one program on your IR sensor. So double click on this. For that, you have to find TEP hex file like this program file. Now here it is visible on your library folder. So this is infrared sensors program. So it is available here, infrared sensors.tep.hex file. You just have to select this file and open. So it is already entered over here. Then click OK. Now it is already loaded this TEP hex file in this IR sensor and that program in this Arduino board. Now you just have to click play button. Now you just have to click this. Now here you can see this is toggle switch, because we just have to enter one input in terms of 0 or 1, then and then you will get output over LED. So it is 1. Now you have seen that your status is equal to 1. At that time your LED is low, so it is indicated as your LED is off. You can see here. Now whenever I am giving here 0, so at this time we are using actually if and else statement, right? So if I am entering 0, so your LED will be on like this. You can see here. So it will be on. Now entering 1, so it will be off. So I am going to tell you that your IR sensor is going to detect some object which is placed over here. Now I am not going to explain in this software. That's why we are connecting here toggle switch. Like we are applying 0 and 1 value, right? So for example, your object will be there, so it will be detected, so your LED will be on. Like this we can perform a practical. So as we discussed about this software, and this is, you can see, actual representation of interfacing with Arduino board with this IR sensor like this.
As you can see here, this is your Arduino board which is interfacing with this IR sensor. Here you can see this is your IR sensor. According to your program, here we need to connect or we need to interface with this sensor. So here you can see your purple wire, it is for out, second red wire, that is your ground, and VCC, which is in yellow color. So as per your program, you just have to click, you just have to connect like this. Your output is connected on number 2 pin. LED must be on 13, because as per your program it is pin number 13. So here you can see pin number 13 and another leg is grounded. So like this you have to connect your pin with this Arduino board. Now you just have to plug in your laptop, and here you can see this is your program as we discussed. Now you just have to click this upload. So after you uploading this, it will be uploaded in your Arduino board. Then here we can see
Thank you for today's session. So now onwards we are going to connect actual Arduino board with this IR sensor. Thank you.